Greenland is shielded by miles of ice and a handful of Danish patrol ships, yet it stands at the center of Arctic power struggles. With no army of its own, and just 200 Danish troops on watch as of January 2026, could this scant arsenal really repel a United States invasion? When treaties and terrain collide with military reality, the consequences could reshape the North forever. The answer is more surprising than you think. Greenland's defense rests not with the local military, but with the laws and alliances that govern its icy territory. The 1951 defense agreement between Denmark and the United States stands at the center of this arrangement, granting the United States rights to operate Pituffik Space Base while placing the ultimate responsibility for Greenland's security in Danish hands. Under this treaty, Denmark alone holds the authority to deploy armed force in Greenland, and any foreign military presence, American or otherwise, requires explicit Danish approval. The agreement is clear: Danish sovereignty is not up for negotiation, even as the United States maintains a critical foothold on Greenlandic soil. Greenland's own government has no army, no air force, and no navy. Instead, it relies entirely on the Kingdom of Denmark for defense. This legal reality shapes every aspect of Greenland's security posture. Foreign Minister Vivon Motzfeldt said that as part of the NATO alliance, it is a core priority for the government of Greenland that defense and security in and around Greenland are strengthened, and that this is achieved in close cooperation with our NATO allies. Danish Minister of Defense, Troels Lund Poulsen, added that security in the Arctic is of crucial importance to the Kingdom of Denmark and our Arctic allies. January 2026 brought these arrangements into sharp relief, with United States officials voicing renewed interest in Greenland's strategic value. Denmark announced an immediate surge of troops, vessels, and allied exercises on the island. Greenland's leaders stood behind the move, framing it as a demonstration of sovereignty and alliance unity. While the arsenal in question belongs to Denmark and its NATO partners, the legal framework ensures that any deployment, defensive or otherwise, must answer to both Copenhagen and Nuuk. This is the scaffolding upon which Greenland's entire military reality is built. Greenland's defense relies first on naval patrols. The Royal Danish Navy fields Thetis-class offshore patrol ships and Knud Rasmussen-class Arctic patrol vessels. Thetis ships, over 3,500 tons, are built for long-range missions and can stay at sea for weeks, equipped with 76mm guns and modular missile slots. Their main tasks include enforcing sovereignty, search and rescue, and maritime surveillance, rotating between Greenlandic ports and open waters. The Knud Rasmussen class, at 1,720 tons, is designed for Arctic operations. With ice-strengthened hulls, these ships patrol fjords and the ice edge, supporting coastal defense and rapid response. Usually one or two of these vessels are present in Greenlandic waters at any time. While neither class is intended for high-intensity naval combat, their endurance and adaptability allow for effective monitoring of vast maritime approaches. Air assets in Greenland are sparse. There are no permanent fighter jets stationed on the island. The Royal Danish Air Force rotates in transport and search and rescue helicopters, like the Merlin, which handle patrols, medical evacuation, and supply missions to remote outposts. Air defense depends on ground-based radar and early warning systems, especially those at Pituffik Space Base, which link into NATO's surveillance network. Allied fighters, including F-35 aircraft, can deploy quickly from Denmark, Iceland, or Norway, but no standing air wing is based locally. On land, Denmark keeps about 200 troops in key locations, with numbers rising during exercises or emergencies. These soldiers train for Arctic warfare and use NATO-standard weapons. The Sirius Dog Sled Patrol, operating in two-man teams with sled dogs, covers thousands of kilometers in North and East Greenland, providing reconnaissance and early warning in areas vehicles cannot reach. Greenland's skies remain exposed in ways that few realize. Despite the surge of Danish and Allied troops, there are no heavy air defense batteries permanently stationed anywhere on the island. The Royal Danish Air Force relies on early warning radars and Allied fighter rotations, but the absence of dedicated ground-based missile systems leaves a significant gap. Instead, surveillance and detection fall to a web of sensors, ground-based radar installations, maritime patrols, and helicopters equipped with infrared and radar suites. These platforms feed information into a joint command network, allowing for rapid alerts and coordination. Yet this sensor fusion cannot substitute for the raw stopping power of modern air defense missiles. Danish procurement documents confirm that a SAMP-T medium-range surface-to-air missile system has been ordered, with delivery scheduled for 2025. Until that system arrives and is operational, Greenland's defense against high-speed aerial threats remains mostly theoretical, hinging on early detection and the hope of timely Allied reinforcement. In practice, this means that any hostile aircraft or missile entering Greenlandic airspace would be tracked, but not necessarily intercepted by local forces. The only direct responses would come from Allied jets scrambling from bases in Denmark, Iceland, or Norway, a process that can take hours, especially in harsh Arctic weather. Maritime and helicopter-borne sensors fill some of the gaps, extending the reach of early warning across the fjords and ice fields. But without the backing of heavy air defense systems, these assets serve as eyes and ears rather than shields. The vulnerability is clear. Until the new SAMP-T batteries are delivered and deployed, Greenland's airspace depends on detection and alliance commitments, not on its own missiles. Greenland's landscape is both a shield and a barrier. Over 80% of the island is locked beneath a massive ice sheet, rising thousands of meters and stretching for hundreds of kilometers without a single road or settlement. Only about 56,000 people live here, most in small towns scattered along the narrow coastal rim. Nuuk, the capital, has just 19,000 residents. The next largest towns, Sisimiut and Ilulissat, are separated by a vast, rugged coastline. No roads connect them. Between these isolated pockets, mountains, glaciers, and tundra dominate. Ports are scarce. Nuuk's harbor is the largest, but it is built for fishing boats and supply ships, not military fleets. Ilulissat and Qaqortoq offer even less. Thule's port at Pituffik Space Base sits farther north than any other, but ice and strict controls limit its use. With so few entry points, any attempt to bring in troops or heavy equipment would be forced through obvious choke points, easy to watch and, if needed, closed off. Winter brings its own set of rules. Darkness can last for months in the far north. Temperatures drop below -30 degrees Celsius. Winds howl across the ice. Sea ice locks most of the coast from late autumn to late spring, trapping ships and grounding aircraft. Permafrost just below the surface turns construction and heavy vehicles into a slow-motion struggle. Even the best technology falters. Engines freeze, electronics fail. Storms halt, resupply flights. Here, small patrols who know the land, like the Sirius Dog Sled Patrol, have the advantage. For an invader, every kilometer is a battle against the elements. In Greenland, geography and weather are the first and most stubborn defenders. Detection is the first barrier any hostile force would face in Greenland. The Sirius Dog Sled Patrol, moving across remote ice fields, can spot unauthorized landings long before they reach settled areas. At sea, Danish patrol vessels use radar and infrared sensors to monitor choke points, narrow fjords, and the few deepwater ports that could handle military landings. These same routes, shaped by geography and ice, become natural bottlenecks. Maritime friction slows even the most advanced fleets. Ships must navigate ice flows, unpredictable weather, and limited harbors, all under constant surveillance. Every delay buys precious hours for Allied reinforcements to organize. Historical Arctic operations show that supply lines falter quickly when forced through such constricted terrain. In this environment, even a modest defending force can inflict steady attrition, not through pitched battles, but by forcing an invader to fight the land, the weather, and the clock at every turn. Any hypothetical United States move against Greenland would trigger immediate and far-reaching consequences across NATO. Article 5, the core of NATO's Mutual Defense Pact, has only been invoked once in history. That was after the attacks of September 11, 2001. Denmark's leaders have made clear that any aggression would be treated as an assault on the entire alliance and would obligate a collective response. Yet the reality is more complicated. Experts from the Joint Arctic Command and Arctic Security Scholars warn that alliance unity cannot be taken for granted. Some member states might hesitate, weighing their own interests and the risks of escalation. Key details about rapid reinforcement plans, cyber defense measures, and advanced sensor capabilities remain classified, leaving significant gaps in public understanding. Procurement timelines for new air defense systems stretch into the future, and the true strength of Allied reinforcements is difficult to verify. The political costs of such a conflict include fractured alliances, unpredictable escalation, and the specter of a NATO rift. These factors cast a long shadow over any scenario, making the outcome uncertain even for the most powerful actors. Today, Greenland's fate relies less on weapons and more on alliances, treaties, and the Arctic's unforgiving terrain. As superpower interest in the region intensifies, sovereignty depends on global cooperation, not firepower. In a world shifting beneath melting ice, defense means far more than just military might. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that matter.